Stella burst into the apartment, eager to share the happy news with her husband. Craig, friends have set a date for the wedding. We can plan everything for June, and we'll even have time to attend the wedding before we go on vacation, she exclaimed. Craig tore himself away from his book to listen to his wife's news. He didn't share Stella's enthusiasm, however. Secretly, he hoped he would not have to attend the wedding at all. He had nothing against the groom, Alan. A nice guy with a good sense of humor. But it was the bride-to-be, Aurora, who was Stella's best friend, who was creating tension between them. Aurora seemed to dislike Craig, and even tried to dissuade Stella from marrying him by making subtle hints and comparing him to other acquaintances. Craig found this tiresome and grew increasingly tired of the situation. Stella excitedly informed her husband that she would be a witness at the wedding, showing her excitement. Despite Craig's wishes, there seemed to be no way to dissuade her from attending. He wondered how Aurora would react this time, perhaps to mess with Craig. Preparations for the wedding began slowly. Stella and Aurora went to the salon to pick out dresses, jewelry, and decor. Stella was very enthusiastic about organizing the celebration, as she had previously successfully planned her own wedding. Aurora asked her friend to take charge of organizing the wedding. The newlyweds invited Stella and Craig to their country house for a barbecue, with friends who were also invited to the June wedding. Unfortunately, not everyone could make it, but about 10 people gathered for a small party. Upon arriving at the house and entering the premises, Aurora eagerly rushed over to her friend Stella, wrapping her in a warm hug and expressing her joy at seeing her. Craig, however, did not reciprocate, only saying a cold hello to her. Inside the house, they began to mingle with the other guests. Almost everyone had gathered. Craig recognized all but one young man in a red hoodie. Aurora introduced him as Clifford, a friend from the groom's side, who would be acting as a witness. Aurora smiled mischievously and exchanged a meaningful glance with Craig, leaving him to guess at her intentions. The evening continued, and the air was filled with the aroma of freshly cooked meat. Everyone gathered around the table, ready to indulge in a delicious feast. Then the groom brought a bottle of something strong, and the approving murmur of his friends filled the room. The lively company began to talk of the coming festivities, recalling amusing incidents from the past. As the drinks flowed, Aurora, visibly intoxicated, struck up an unusual conversation. Have you ever heard of the tradition that signifies a strong and happy marriage for newlyweds? Aurora spoke inaudibly, her gaze darting mischievously between Stella and Clifford. The guests burst into laughter, and Clifford, at first surprised, joined them with a smile. Stella blushed slightly, and Craig, keeping a cold expression on his face, remarked that witnesses were no longer needed at the marriage registration. Ignoring Craig's remark, Aurora continued, "If we had decided to get married a little earlier, that tradition would have been honored by now." Her laughter echoed around the room, causing everyone to burst into laughter, seeming to realize the implication. Stella, caught off guard by these words, looked at her friend reproachfully, but Aurora simply brushed off her reaction. The only one left puzzled by the joke was Craig. He looked questioningly at his wife, quietly asking her about what her friend had just said, while the others continued to joke and laugh. "That was just a really bad joke. Look at the state she's in," the wife said, gesturing to her friend, and the empty bottles surrounding her. "But she mentioned that you already know this guy. Who is he to you?" The wife hesitated for a moment, meeting her spouse's gaze. She realized her husband wasn't going to let it go that easily, so she sighed and replied, "Well, he was actually my first boyfriend. We dated for a couple months. Nothing serious. Relax. It's old news. Relax. How did you even bring it up? Is that the reason you didn't get hired?" the husband asked, but his wife interrupted him, urging him to discuss it later, away from prying eyes. Craig's mood soured as he learned more about his wife's past. Her friend's jokes no longer seemed harmless. After sitting like this for a while, he suggested that his wife drive home. In the car, he revisited their conversation, seething with anger. Why didn't you tell me about this before? Why was there something between you two? Asked Craig, anger evident in his tone. Stella, feeling her irritation building, replied, "First of all, I didn't know until today that he was going to be a witness. And second, how do you expect me to talk about it, Sage? Sit down. I'm going to tell you all about my past relationship." As her husband began to calm down, she continued, "Look, that relationship ended a long time ago. He and I haven't even been in touch. Today was the first time I saw him since university. I love you, Sage." Gradually, their disagreements subsided. Seriously, how can there even be a conversation about past relationships? That would be disrespectful and inconsiderate, Craig said, and the tension between them subsided. Craig began to see Aurora less often, and his wife only kept him informed of the wedding preparations. He plunged headlong into his work, bringing in new clients. The couple's planned summer vacation seemed to be postponed as they needed to make more money. July was approaching fast, along with Aurora's wedding, but Craig's thoughts were already on the beach with his wife. They were due to leave a few days after the celebration. The week before their friend's wedding, Stella had attended the bachelorette party, but Craig hadn't. It happened to be his day off. Stella preferred to refuse to participate in the bachelor party, as her husband was not particularly fond of such events, considering them a waste of time. He didn't like everyone waking up hungover and unable to function properly during the day. Stella preferred to be in control of her life, especially since she had a vacation coming up. She wanted everything to be perfectly prepared, so that evening, she decided to go through all the reservations and make a list of possible excursions and activities on the beach. Meanwhile, Aurora had been very busy lately. She was organizing a grand party for her friend, but not all the contractors were meeting their deadlines, which was causing her a lot of trouble. She assured Craig that she would be home before midnight, emphasizing that it was important for her to get a good night's sleep. Lately, she was exhausted from endlessly browsing travel websites. Craig didn't notice that it was well past midnight. He called his wife, but she didn't answer for a long time. When he was about to end the call, she finally picked up the phone and said, "I'm on my way. Don't hang up." 15 minutes later, she returned home, visibly tired. Taking off her shoes in the hallway, she walked over to Craig and hugged him. "I thought you weren't coming over again," Craig remarked quietly. "Scene held me up when I was about to leave," Aurora explained. "Clifford wanted to discuss something with me. We met briefly at the center. Were you with him just now?" Craig's voice gave away his irritation. "Please calm down. Clifford is preparing a big gift for the newlyweds. He wanted to consult with me about the decorations. It's not like we've done anything else. We could have discussed it over the phone. We didn't have to meet, especially at this late hour." But Aurora intervened. Craig was beginning to feel like an overly anxious man. He couldn't understand why his wife didn't understand his concern. The wedding day had finally arrived. All that remained was to survive it, and then the long-awaited vacation would be within reach. Craig was exhausted from work and tired of Clifford's constant presence. He was not looking forward to the wedding of his wife's friends, but saw it as a kind of deadline. The morning began with a photo session of the newlyweds. Then the guests arrived at the registry office and finally went to a large restaurant outside of town. The ceremony went smoothly. The guests congratulated the couple, and the parents shed tears of joy. After reaching the restaurant, everyone was tired and hungry. After a hearty meal, the guests began to raise toasts to the bride and groom, and the waiters hurried to fill glasses. The crowd was large and the music was loud. Soon, everyone was dancing. Craig took the opportunity to chat with the bride's uncle, a well-known businessman in their town. It was a valuable acquaintance, and they had much to discuss. Engrossed in the conversation, Craig didn't notice Stella excused herself and left. Looking around the room, Craig couldn't find his wife's purse and cell phone, which she had left on the chair. Saddened by his fruitless search, he turned his attention to a woman nearby who asked teasingly, "Lost someone?" "I'm not sure. She said she was out for some fresh air," he replied. Walking down to the plaza in front of the restaurant where the bride and groom's relatives were gathered and chatting, he did not find his wife. Going around the building, he still did not find her. Perhaps she had been misinformed and had gone outside, he suggested. Determined, he decided to search the floor where the banquet was held once more. After searching all the rooms and finding nothing, he went out onto the balcony. What he saw shocked him. Behind the trees, not far from the restaurant, he saw a familiar dress. The style couldn't be mistaken, and standing next to it was seen. Walking over to him, Craig quickly removed his jacket and rolled up the sleeves of his shirt. These actions indicated that there was about to be trouble. Today he was to fulfill the second omen that foreshadowed a successful marriage between the newlyweds. After all, what's a wedding without a good fight? Craig quickly confronted Scene, resolving the situation on the spot. The other guests then quickly stepped in and separated the two men. The women looked terrified, but Aurora seemed oddly content. It seemed everything had been resolved in one evening. Aurora had finally managed to put an end to their relationship, which had taken a lot of effort on her part. Craig, on the other hand, felt a sense of sadness and disappointment at the events that had unfolded. However, he decided not to change his plans. Seeking solace by the sea, he decided to change the locks in his apartment to secure his privacy.